morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. First, our major stories. Insecurity is rife for the city of Douala. The phenomenon of microbe made up of young people armed with machetes and other dangerous weapons moving in groups and attacking city dwellers is resurfacing in areas like Bali and Bonaka. Speaking during a press conference today, the governor of the Littoral region, Buea, says that 8 suspects were involved in a robbery attack that led to the death of 1 person in Bali have been arrested. And away from that, we'll take you to the conflict regions. After a 2-week lockdown imposed by separatist fighters in the conflict northwest and southwest regions, classes are yet to resume in full gear in the conflict areas. Visiting some schools today in Buea, a handful of students and pupils answered present today. It should be noted that schools are resuming in these regions 2 weeks after the official kickoff in the 8 other regions of Cameroon. Those are major stories. Stay with us for details and more. Thank you so much for always choosing Equinoxe Television. You made the right choice. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. Inhabitants of some neighborhoods of the economic capital city Douala have been living in fear following attacks orchestrated by a group of armed individuals. In most recent attack that occurred in the Bali neighborhood, at least 1 person got killed. In a press briefing in Douala today, Governor Samuel Buea said most of the armed bandits have been arrested and security will be reinforced in these areas. We have details with Anne Abila.
J'ai trouvé le sang. Et j'ai appris ce qui s'est passé à la veille. Vraiment, j'étais très mal à l'aise.
For some time now, insecurity has been on an upsurge in the economic capital Douala. Port neighborhoods such as Bonaka and Bali have recently been attacked.
Je me sens en insécurité parce que je ne sais pas. On peut être là en plein jour, les gars débarquent.
Hoodlums armed with machetes, daggers, knives and other dangerous weapons invade certain quarters, harassing inhabitants and killing some. Even security agents fall in the dragnet of the men of the underworld.
People harassing, seizing bags. We also have cases where in the morning, like us in the security sector, our guards, they aggress them when they are coming to work, or they aggress them when they are going back to work. It's a very serious situation.
The people who live or work around residential areas in Douala think culprits should be severely punished.
I believe that the actions for even one case should not be taken very, very lightly.
The participation of the locals to track down the perpetrators of insecurity in Douala should be imperative.
You have to alert the least error, the least noise, the least suspicion. We alert, we assist the police, because just as we are saying, they cannot put one policeman behind it is impossible.
Reinforcing security at major road junctions will serve as a plus to enhancing the security situation.
So because those are sensitive areas now, where from time to time you hear that it has happened here, it has happened. So those areas, if they really earmark them, they can put some military there. It can be civilian attire. It can also be in uniform, because at times when the people are even in uniform, it scares more than when you only are in civilian attire.
The French Consul General in Douala also in an official communique expresses worries about security issues around their office premises. The Littoral Governor's Office has been keen on what is happening on the ground. In his most recent outing, Governor Samuel Buea says the arrested armed robbers who caused havoc in Bali days back will be severely sanctioned.
We caught 10 people at the quarter called Bois de Singe with knives. They are all going to Newbel.
The latest attack in Bali, which led to the death of a young man, sent shockwaves and fear down the spines of the population. It is expected the measures put in place to curb the recent insecurity be respected by the authorities concerned.
Staff Lady Annabila reporting there. Let's now take a listen to the governor of the Littoral region, who came back to explain what happened in Bali while reassuring the population that security has been reinforced in the affected areas. Let's now take a listen to Governor Samuel Buea in this excerpt carefully selected for us by Annabila.
since last Friday, we got some bandits who went to a police station at the level of Georgia and was harassing bags, phones here and there. And they killed Mr. Eyango. After that, we caught 2 bandits that was just avoiding that they are the one with another group, around 15 people, and they help the policemen and gendarmes to give the way to bring back the other one. And from today, there are 8 of them that are at the Judiciary Police Office. And all of them are just begging a pardon, but there's no pardon because somebody is killed, and we have to take the other one. And from that day, I can say that when the force of law went to the fields and took some of them, one was just having in his house identity cards of a victim. The other one, 3 nights, and many other things that are showing that their job is to kill people and to harass. Even the dealers are also involved in this job. That's why I'm saying there's no way to go to the social media and say that Douala is not a living place. A lady went and showed that he was wounded in his left hand, but he was not wounded at the place of Njonjo. And asking that lady, next time, please, call the policemen, call the governor, call the SDO, call the people that can help you to react. But when you are standing like that, waiting for the social media, it's late. So, I want to assure you that the measures concerning the security of Douala are on their way. Even yesterday, we caught 10 people at the quarter called Buea with knives. They are all going to Newbell. So, there is no way for us to give way to the bandits in this city of Douala.
Samuel Judeneva Buea, governor of the Littoral region, speaking there. Now to something else. The forces of law and order in Buea have continued to detain some 24 young people who were amongst the over 70 children arrested in Bonaka village recently. Even though majority of the youths have been set free, parents of those who are still in prison say their children are innocent. Smart Gable visited Bonaka village and put together this report for the 6 p.m. news.
Total joy as one of those arrested finally reunites with families in Bonaka village. Life is gradually returning to normalcy after over 70 youths who were recently arrested were released by security forces. These youths were picked up during a raid organized in their village by the gendarmes, police and army. A victim explains the circumstances on which he was taken away.
They had gathered almost everybody, women, men, youth and young ones. Us who were youth, we were asked to sit down. We sat down. After they took us, they snapped us pictures, and then from there we removed our dresses. We only found ourselves at Legion Buea.
But confirmed that life behind bars was very harsh.
It was hell on a serious note because the cell rooms were too minute, too tiny for the population that was arrested.
The release of some of the youths who were arrested came after a protest staged by the inhabitants of Bonaka village demanding the release of the children who were supposed to be in school. A human rights activist cautions the forces of law and order.
The gendarmes, we appreciate them for the work that they are doing. They should know exactly their targeted persons.
According to the head of the Legend Law Office, who has been following the file of the detained youth from Bonaka village, 24 out of over 70 arrested are still under custody for further investigation till now.
I want to state here that a huge number of the people who were arrested have been released. We have about 24 others who are still held at the region. And I think that they said investigation is still going on.
The parents of the kids who are still behind bars say their kids are innocent and are begging on the government to ease their release.
Smajikan Gabriel reporting there. In education, classes effectively began today in the two English-speaking regions following a 2 weeks imposed lockdown by alleged separatists. In Buea, southwest region, the day was marked by heavy rainfall that inundated several neighborhoods. It was in this atmosphere that students answered present on day one of school resumption. Our reporter Ace Lusilengu was at Bilingual Grammar School Moliko and Government Primary School Dongo. Let's have details in this report.
After a 2 weeks imposed lockdown by separatists in the Anglophone regions of the country, classes effectively kickstart on Tuesday, September 24th, instead of September 9th, 2024. In Buea, southwest region, it was amidst heavy rainfall that students answered present. At Bilingual Grammar School Moliko, over 3,996 students, both from the English and French subsystems, were in school.
I teach history. As you can see, the class is perfectly full. The students are here and the classes went operational very perfectly today, and we have started classes and we are good to go. So we are happy, everywhere is calm and the students are here and everything is good. No late coming. I started my classes with Form 3, and in Form 3 all the students were there. The whole class was full, showing that all of them are happy to come back to school.
What do they do during the day? What are you doing now in class? What are you doing during the day?
While at Government Nursery School Dongo Wokoko, school administrators say classrooms are limited. They equally raise other worries. The Anglophone crisis has had significant effects on education, as some schools in the two English-speaking regions have been shut down due to violence and insecurity, disrupting the education of thousands of students. Those living in these regions hope security be reinforced.
And now we talk something else. The Archbishop of the Archdiocese of Douala, His Grace Samuel Kleda, has called on persons of goodwill to join hands on deck and assist flood victims of Yagua. His Grace Samuel Kleda says the people in Yagua are going through untold suffering at this moment, and the church, which preaches generosity, cannot be indifferent to their plight. We have details with Innocent Aze.
Le moyen donc pour reconstruire. Voilà pourquoi je lance cet appel-là.
His Grace Samuel Kleda, Archbishop of the Douala Archdiocese, implores Catholic Christians and persons of goodwill to contribute money to be channeled to the Diocese of Yagua in the far north region for flood victims. This call comes at a time the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paula Tanganji, warns persons who organize fundraising events to collect money from people to make names without authorization of his ministry. To him, only the state has the sole responsibility and has already contributed enough to handle the situation. Organizations or persons who will violate the injunction will face the iron fist of the state. Shockingly enough, some victims say they have not received the government's aid so far.
On les attend encore. Pourquoi on ne nous construit pas les logements sociaux?
His Grace Samuel Kleda is heartbroken by these testimonies. Reason he does not want to fold his arms and watch the people suffer.
Il existe cette tradition.
It is a tradition in the Catholic Church to raise money to support the poor, suffering people, orphans and others. So I invite Christians of the Douala Archdiocese and persons of goodwill to chip in what they have for the flood victims in the far north region. The prelate holds that if the state's 350 million francs CFA was insufficient, then another be disbursed to support everyone. It is not all about what has been given already, but doubling or tripling the sum so that everyone benefits. It is the sweat of Cameroonians. Compatriots need help. Whatever will be raised by the Douala Archdiocese will be purposely for the construction of destroyed homes, classrooms, to enable children continue schooling.
S'ils n'ont pas assez à manger, est-ce qu'ils pourront avoir de l'argent pour envoyer les enfants à l'école?
The sum, once collected, will be channeled to the Yagua Diocese, where evaluation will be made for repartitioning.
Innocent Aze reporting there. Economic experts say the mad rush by Cameroonians to go to Canada leaves Cameroon a loss of skilled labor, a fall in the quality of services, a fiscal deficit and a risk of economic instability. Besides the negative impact, they say diaspora remittance also constitutes a non-negligible inflow to the Cameroonian economy, a complex situation that warrants a collective approach for better economic gains. Femi Armstrong Sanda is a man of that story.
The revelation from GICAM that over 6,000 Cameroonians moved to Canada in the first quarter of 2024 has been on top of news stories and debates in the country. Qualified as brain drain, economists say the social and economic impact on Cameroon is diverse, mixed with elements of economic gains and losses both at the macro and micro levels. First, the shortage in skilled labor.
It is a loss for us. Our country, like Canada and Germany, need these experts. Our country has a doctor-patient ratio of 1 to 1,000, very low.
A loss in skilled labor that directly results to a fall in the quality of services offered.
D'abaisser le niveau et d'abaisser la qualité.
The shortage will lead to a fall in standard and quality of services offered in hospitals and schools. For example, the government will be obliged to go for bike riders as teachers.
Il va tâtonner au moins pendant 3 ans avant de pouvoir être en mesure de délivrer vraiment la qualité d'enseignement.
Beyond this, the state records a fiscal deficit as labor trained with state resources continue to live.
Faire face à une hausse du coût de recrutement des nouveaux travailleurs.
They, however, argue that all is not waste as diaspora remittance constitute a reasonable inflow to the country's GDP.
Cameroonians in the diaspora transfer hundreds of billions to Cameroon.
They believe that things can be turned around for the good of Cameroon if the government creates a more attractive economic and social environment. They say that this is possible through a broad-based dialogue involving the public sector, the private sector, and the Cameroonian diaspora.
That's it for this first part of the news. Talking Point is up next. My guest tonight on Talking Point is Chingsi Anye Joseph, a human rights defender who equally doubles as the executive director of the Center for Human Rights and Peace Advocacy. Good evening, Mr. Joseph. It's a pleasure having you on Talking Point tonight.
Thank you, Immaculate, and it's also my pleasure to share with you information on this very important program, Talking Point.
Rising insecurity in Douala, the right to live, the right to free movement, the right to safety, etc., are threatened. People are currently being attacked by young men armed with machetes and other dangerous weapons. From a global view, how will you describe the security situation of this country?
I take your concern by hitting the nail on the head, by making reference to the right to life. As a human rights organization, our organization, the Center for Human Rights and Peace Advocacy, is concerned about people's rights, the protection and promotion of people's rights. And whoever talks about protection of rights must first and foremost protect the right to life, which is a fundamental right. Without the right to life, no other right exists. And so with the recent insecurity in Douala, where people were wounded, it led to death of some. I don't know whether by now some have died out of the wounds they received, becomes a threatening issue, and it should be a serious state concern. And I think that it is important, therefore, that we address our minds to this.
Recently, at least 70 youths of Bonaka village in the southwest region were arrested in the course of a raid, as we saw in the reports done by Smart Gable. Among those who were arrested was a 13-year-old boy. As of now, just a few of those arrested have been released. Looking at the frequency of raids in Buea, as a human rights advocate, are such raids necessary, and what impact can it have on the population?
Rather unfortunate that in the 21st century, in a civilized situation like ours, they use raid as a way of identifying criminals. Because by now our state should be civilized enough. Our state institution, especially the forces of law and order, should have sufficient instrument to be able to identify criminals without molesting the innocent one. So it is very, very regrettable. It also came to our notice that during the lockdown, the 2 weeks lockdown, there was this raid where about 70 people were arrested. And out of these 70 people, you have children, you have women, and you have most vulnerable people. It came to our notice, and we were rightly informed, that people went out to buy bread, to look for something to eat, and the forces of law and order passed and picked them and tagged them as being amber terrorists. This is a simple technique that they have been using to mine the people, they have been using to arbitrarily detain the people, to illegally detain the people, and that by now the people still remain under detention, which is out of the law. And I think that it is important for the Procureur General, the Attorney General of the Southwest, to take an action to see into it that the people are properly identified and freed according to our laws, our existing laws. Now we are talking about the 13-year-old child who was among us. What will a child be found in a detention center for whatever reason? The law on juvenile justice exists. That the protection of the child should be paramount, starting with the Convention on the Right of the Child, which simply says that the best interests of the child should be the motivating action of whoever, especially the state. And so if the state can easily detain a child, and the child is there for over days, we're talking about 14 days, this is very shameful on the part of the state.
Jinsey Joseph, trafficking of babies and women seem to be on the rise in Cameroon. Can you enlighten us on some of the cases your organization has been working with, and how has the case evolved following the intervention of the organization?
First of all, we started with training. Train journalists that you are, train civil society organization, train also some decentralized state services, so that together we can combat this pest. And we have moved forward to be able to take concrete action. We have moved forward to identify a good number of them, and in fact so many of them, and we are able to support about 50 of them in accordance with the financial capacity that we have in the project. And so from this number that we have supported, I think you are a witness to see some of them who were present in this press cafe, who informed you, especially the one that was given economic support to start up business. She says she's faring very well. She's able to feed her children, her 3 children, and she's able to also to send some of them to school, thanks to the little support that we have. It was so little, yet she has made good use of it. We have also heard the other girl, Juliet, who reports to us that thanks to this support, she has had her O-level, 5 papers, and this is something very laudable. And we also had the other person who decided to do computer services, and that he is doing well, even as she has challenges. I think this is wonderful. Those who were not present, they've had wonderful results, and we think that we can only thank the partner, the American Embassy, to have given us the support.
Now, you made mention of the fact that your organization was able to come to the aid of some victims. While you were on the field with some of the victims, what exactly did they tell you? What were their experiences?
To include, first of all, they receive a lot of intimidation from their perpetrators, who tell them, if you dare tell any person what you are going through, we are going to kill you. Some of the challenges is also that, of course, it's exploitation, as you already know, that they work for longer hours, and they are little paid, very little paid. And of course, and each time they are menaced by, we will send you away, we will send you away. And first and foremost, some of the victims don't even have papers. They don't have identification papers. And when they feel that they don't have identification, they are bound to stay with their perpetrators. They are bound to stay with these people. And so it is very important, therefore, that the victim should understand that even at the point of bayonet, they should be able to speak out, because there is always a listening ear, and to come to their aid.
As a human rights defender who has been fighting against child trafficking for several years, what are some of the challenges that you have been facing on the field?
Face the same challenges as the intimidation. Because we know that some of these perpetrators, the alleged perpetrators, are people who are politically very strong, economically very strong, and socially well placed. Most of them, they think they can use the connection they have, especially at the level of the state, to intimidate. But we know that we need to resist, and that's what we have been doing, by resisting. We also have our own means by which we can expose them. And so we use these means to expose them. And of course, often, many come back for cooperation and to look for a way forward.
Chinsi Aye Joseph, Human Rights Defender and equally Executive Director of the Center for Human Rights and Peace Advocacy. Thank you so much for your time. That's what put an end to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for always staying with us. Coming up next in some few minutes is Equinoxe Soir with Serge Alain Otu. See you tomorrow, same time, God willing. Bye-bye for now.